What is pride? I mean, we've all seen pictures of it. It's on the news. They talk about it everywhere. But what really is pride? Have you thought about it? Is it something that we're caught in, an inescapable network of mutuality tied in a single garment of destiny? Surely, whatever affects one person affects us all indirectly. Even the most conservative-minded cannot drive through town on a day in June and not be exposed to a rainbow flag waving in the breeze. And these times have been made so much more challenging by those conservative minds who don't share our pride. There is another famous quote by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that I want to remind you of. The arc of moral justice is long. But I just messed that up. I told you I was going to do that. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. And though change may seem slow right now, with chaos ripping across this country and making so many of our Pride members uncomfortable and scared, my heart is like a flame of hope. And I hope you will light a flame in your hope tonight. Like this flame you see before you, vibrant, persevering against the darkness and lighting up love. I believe that by persistently showing up, we will overcome the obstacles to peace and happiness. So what is pride? To quote Theodore Parker, democracy means not, I am as good as you are, but you are as good as I am. Regardless of sexual orientation, gender identity, whom you love, how you love, and whatever may be your identity, we all have a commitment to acknowledge the value in each of us as a person of dignity and worth. That is our UU covenant. I choose to recognize that each person is of value and deserves the same rights and liberties that I have and others have. So twice now, I've asked you, what is pride? We're starting to get a little idea in our head. I want to reword that just a little bit. I want you to think about, what is pride to you? Consider that. You see, when I sat down to write this service, I asked myself the same question. I said, Ayliah, what is pride? And I looked it up online, and I read the definition, and it was, the feeling of satisfaction derived from an achievement. Okay, that seems fair. So then I asked myself, Ayliah, what is pride to you? Well, I looked in books, I looked on Google. Alexa wanted to show me pictures of lions for some reason. But no, there was no help anywhere. I could not find what it was to me until I looked in my heart. In my heart, I saw a young child in a backyard, swinging on a swing, playing hopscotch on the sidewalk in front of the house. They're wearing this beautiful yellow sundress, and their hair is pulled back in pigtails, and they have this smile. It's so incredible. It just lights up the whole street. And the mother comes out of the house, and they say, make sure you keep your dress clean. And the child looks up at the mother and says, does that mean I can wear it to school tomorrow? The mother frowns. No. You will be bullied, and the children will make fun of you. Flash forward, 15 years of 2 wardrobes, one for the house and one for the public. The child is now an adult. And they're going to see a doctor who's going to get their life in right order, finally. And the doctor looks at them and says, you know what? You're much too tall. If you go out in public dressed like that, you'll be bullied and people will make fun of you. And this child, this person leaves feeling very dejected. But you know what happens? They don't go back to that doctor again. They wake up the next workday, they put on a bright yellow sundress, and they go to work like they never had that doctor's appointment. 30-odd years later, I find myself volunteering at a Pride Festival a few weeks ago. I see so many children there. It was like so heartwarming, watching their laughing and playing. They're wearing flags like capes and running around, and I see their authentic selves. I see it in their faces. This is pride. This is achievement. This is the arc of the moral universe bending towards justice. If nowhere else, but here, this one place, I see the meaning of pride in children's faces. Many years ago, there was a slogan, you may have heard it. It said, "You've come a long way, baby." Well, pride has come a long ways. The history of the LGBTQIA community's rights has been slowly progressing since the Pilgrims landed at Bay Colony. The Puritans brought with them a lot of very rigid ideals about what sexuality and modesty and gender expression, what they should all look like based on their Bible interpretations. And this is important to understand because this laid the foundation for some of the persecution that we're still facing today. See, we've been slowly chipping away at those ideals over time. We'll get there eventually. When the Puritans saw the indigenous people, they saw them they were half naked, they were running around barefoot, they were having relations with each other, and they thought, these people are less than human. And they thought they are disposable, and if our community is exposed to these indigenous people, we could become polluted. This moral judgment would later be used to justify slavery. The persecution created a political and philosophical concept of othering. And once a group was othered, they were immediately considered less than and not deserving of basic rights, nor were they protected by common laws. This form of judgment called othering is still going on today, where they think, we're the other group, we're the other people. We don't need those rights and laws. But when we wade into the muddy waters of hermeneutics, we discover there are no clear answers. Over and over again, we have witnessed the Bible being weaponized to promote othering and discrimination. But do we blame the Bible, or do we blame the leaders who are using it for their own ends? Certain conservative governors, perhaps. Do we hold these leaders responsible? Yuval Noah Harari said something in his 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. He said, if we rely on a supreme being to determine morality, then does that make morality supernatural? Something for another world? Morality should be based on relieving suffering, not justifying it. We must choose a path of compassion and courage. Our Unitarian Universalist faith calls us to be in mindful relationships with others. We are tasked to see people who are different from us as being of equal value, dignity, and self-worth. We are tasked with offering others compassion and acceptance. This is not a hard task. We can do this. Not because a supreme being has recommended that we do this, but because based of our education, our experiences, and our spiritual searching, that we know these actions are just. We must embody openness, a courageous vulnerability that invites people to become fully alive with us, because we dare to love. What is pride? If we are truly awakened to love and open to welcoming others and their gifts, we must also not fear transformation. Because there's a transformation that occurs when we open ourselves to the possibilities of gender and love. I believe an open heart is much more capable of love and compassion. And with our hearts open, may we readily discover the intersection of our yearning with others' hunger. Sadly, my friends, not every heart is open in this world. There are many people who fear the transformation that would happen if they did open their heart. I watch the news and I wish I could wave a magic wand and just wake up the angry minority and say, look what you're doing. It's not necessary. Those fearful souls who burn pride flags at schools in California, who take guns to pride rallies in Idaho, and continually shun our rainbow brothers and sisters. If only I could show them the beauty of diversity, the strength and wonder in a queer child's eyes. Have you seen a child who is learning to experience their identity? It's so beautiful. And the mighty feelings of immeasurable, inexhaustible relief when you release the constraints of persecution from your heart and soul. Right now, here in this country, LGBTQI youth are more than 4 times likely to commit suicide. Of these youth, 36% have been physically threatened, 73% have already experienced discrimination, and 17% have been threatened with conversion therapy. These numbers come from research by the Trevor Project. And if we go by their estimate of 1.8 million queer youth in the United States, then every 45 seconds, a child seriously considers suicide. Think about that. 45 seconds. That means by the time the service is over, 80 children will have considered ending their lives. The greatest trigger for these considerations and these attempts? Lack of affirming spaces and lack of support. Can we ensure this church is an affirming space? Can we ensure this is a supportive space? Can we open and awaken to love? These children can't wait for us to be guided by a divine source. It's up to us to choose a path of compassion. So who's feeling a little rainbow pride tonight? Anyone here? Yay. Is Pride for everyone? Can anyone celebrate Pride Month? Yes. People show pride when their baseball team is winning, and people show pride when they get a brand new promotion. And it takes courage to face the moral persecution and the limiting laws going on in more than half of these United States. Courage. That's a heavy word. Courage. Courage. 2 syllables, but a whole lot of weight. When I was 22, I was seeking to reclaim my identity fresh out of the Navy. I wanted to take it back from the parents who didn't want me to be who I was because they were trying to protect me. And all around me, these people would say, oh, ignore it when other people judge you. Or just smile, pay them no mind. Did I feel pride when I was trying to ignore being judged by others? No. Did I feel pride when employers looked me in the face and said, we can't hire you because you just won't fit in? No, this kind of pride takes courage. Pride takes courage and strength and determination and resilience. And here we are. The next chapter of this ongoing story is up to us. The pen is in your hands. What kind of narrative do you want to create? Ever since the Puritans landed here, there has been this existential concern of purity versus danger and contamination. We have seen it reinvent itself. We have seen it as indigenous genocide, slavery, the social purity movement, and right up to the current times with the attempted erasure of critical race theory. So many people fear transformation. They fear opening their hearts and their minds to something they don't understand. Being an ally should feel good and safe and reaffirming. And there are never enough allies. And you know what? I don't always understand it either. I ask questions of myself. I look it up online all the time. If I am willing to do the work and to be compassionate and open my heart to the people who are in need of allies. The ACLU reports there is a record number of anti-LGBTQIA bills being pushed through the state and federal governments. The number is a staggering 520 at the last count. The Pride community needs allies. We need supportive, affirming spaces. We all need to stand together. We must remain grounded in our best actions and become allies, friends, extended family, and create the best welcoming space and community that we can. We must continue to speak out against injustice. No, not because we are resilient, but because we stubbornly believe that all people deserve equal rights and liberties. We must take responsibility for writing our story. Let us create the next chapter together. And let's make it a chapter full of pride. Thank you.